Any of us little 3 to 4-year-olds weren't disciplined, weren't obedient. They put us in the black box with the ice for a little while.
Before she passed away, Shirley Temple revealed something that made Hollywood freeze in shock. "People all thought I was a little angel," she said. "But the truth is, I stopped being innocent at the age of 3. This wasn't a playful line or some dramatic exaggeration. It was her final confession, straight from the woman once seen as the nation's purest star. The girl with the golden curls and that dazzling smile, the one who saved studios from going broke, had been carrying a secret so heavy it haunted her for decades. Those same movies that made America fall in love with her were the very reason her childhood was taken away. The cheerful scenes on screen were just glitter covering something dark. Behind the camera, behind those famous giggles, Shirley was living through things no 3-year-old should ever experience. She grew up with shame and silence, all while the world adored her. Why did the same years people called magical feel to her like a paradise built on pain? It all started in 1931, when 3-year-old Shirley Temple's name was signed into Hollywood's books. Her life changed forever. "My childhood ended when I was 3 years old," she once admitted, and those words hit like thunder. Back then, no one in Los Angeles could have guessed that this tiny girl, so small she had to stand on a wooden box just to see herself in the mirror, was about to become the face that would rescue a dying studio. No one knew that behind that miracle success story was a little girl being pushed into something far bigger than she could understand. That same year, the world's little angel took her first steps down a path she would later describe as trading my childhood for the survival of adults. Her mother, Gertrude Temple, wasn't cruel. She was just desperate. The Great Depression had left families gasping for hope. Every parent was struggling, trying to keep their children fed and their homes standing. So when Gertrude walked little Shirley into Meglin's dance school in Los Angeles, she smiled to her neighbors and said, "I just want her to have fun." But the moment those studio doors swung open, the moment she saw the posters of kids being picked for movie roles, the moment she heard other mothers whispering about checks and payments, something shifted deep inside her. That dream of giving her daughter a happy childhood quickly turned into something else, a chance to escape poverty. That dance school became the place where Gertrude Temple stacked the dreams of the whole family on her little girl's tiny feet. She didn't take Shirley there to play or learn art. She took her to get ready for a contract. Hollywood mothers back then whispered the same thing to each other. Their kids weren't just dancing for fun, they were auditioning for survival. And shockingly, only weeks later, that big opportunity showed up, but in the cruelest way imaginable. At a small Santa Monica show, director Charles Lamont, a man famous for spotting young talent, noticed a 3-year-old girl with bouncing curls, dancing like she was born for it. No fake grin, no pushy mom forcing her to smile, just pure, innocent rhythm. Lamont saw dollar signs the moment he laid eyes on her. After the show, he walked right up to Gertrude and offered her a contract on the spot. Without hesitation, she said yes. She didn't know, or maybe didn't want to know, what kind of world she was sending her daughter into. That contract was with Educational Pictures, a studio name that sounded sweet and harmless. But behind it was something way darker. They were the ones behind the Baby Burlesques, a film series that would later be slammed as one of Hollywood's most disturbing examples of child exploitation. In those so-called comedies, Shirley and other little kids were dressed in mini versions of adult costumes, pretending to play grown-up roles they couldn't even begin to understand. Imagine it. Toddlers playing diplomats or flirty dancers, copying what adults thought was funny, but there was nothing funny about it. What the grown-ups called cute was really a window into how twisted early Hollywood could be. Kids of color were given roles that copied racist stereotypes, things that today would never be allowed. Yet back then, audiences laughed and clapped, totally blind to the harm happening behind the cameras. But the real horror wasn't just in the scripts, it was in what happened off-set. Behind one of the sound stages on Hollywood Boulevard, there was a hidden room, cold and dark. Inside sat a giant block of ice. It wasn't a prop. It wasn't for a scene. It was punishment. If a child cried, got tired, or accidentally looked away from the camera, they were locked inside that freezing room as discipline. The steel door would slam shut, and the sobs of little kids would echo into the darkness, while outside, adults went on talking about lighting angles and profit margins as if nothing happened. Shirley later wrote in her memoir, Child Star, "I was sent there so many times I couldn't count." A 3-year-old child shivering in a dark room, pressed up against a block of ice. That's what Hollywood's Angel endured, just to make the world smile. That freezing room taught Shirley exactly what happened when a child didn't cooperate. No one asked if she was scared. No one cared if she was shivering or begging to go home. While trapped inside, tiny Shirley would press her face against the wall and whisper to herself, "What did I do wrong?" That question haunted her for the rest of her life. The trauma from those days cut so deep that even decades later, she couldn't escape it. By her 50s, Shirley finally admitted, "I understood physical embarrassment before I could even read." Can you imagine? A child learning pain before words. But that dark chapter with the baby burlesques was only the beginning. Hollywood had much more in store for her. When Shirley turned 6 or 7, her fame exploded. Her face was everywhere. Theaters, magazines, even toy stores. During the Great Depression, she wasn't just a child star, she was the film industry's lifeline. One smile from her could sell out theaters across the country. But that fame made her a target, a symbol of innocence trapped in a world run by adults who saw her more as a business than a little girl. At just 12, Shirley was taken to MGM Studios to meet Arthur Freed, one of the biggest power players in Hollywood. What happened in that office would stay burned into her memory forever. Years later, in interviews, she said she couldn't even explain it properly because she was still a child at the time. She thought he was joking, maybe trying to make her laugh. She giggled, not realizing what was really happening. And suddenly, she was rushed out of the office as if she had done something wrong. The shame wasn't his to carry. It was forced on her. Then came another chilling moment when she was 17, during a private meeting in the Hollywood Hills. Something happened that froze her in place, her heart racing in terror. And if another adult hadn't walked in at the exact right time, things could have taken a much darker turn. Shirley never gave the full details, but the look in her eyes whenever she recalled it said everything. That was the moment she realized her whole childhood had been built on foundations she never controlled. Those kinds of experiences didn't just happen once, they repeated, year after year, all hidden behind bright lights and movie magic. The sparkle on screen became the mask that hid her pain. Looking back, Shirley refused to blame just one person. She called it a product of the time, a brutal era where young stars had no voice, where studios held all the power, and where parents, desperate and hopeful, unknowingly handed their kids over to a machine that chewed up childhoods for profit. And it all traced back to 1931, that single year when Shirley Temple, just 3 years old, was handed to Hollywood by the people who loved her most, and that's when her innocence quietly disappeared forever. "I grew up in front of hundreds of cameras, yet no one ever asked if I wanted to stand there," Shirley Temple once said, a line that left readers of her memoir stunned. She also confessed, "I don't remember when I learned to dance. I only remember dancing so the adults could breathe easier." That sentence wasn't the sorrow of an old woman. It was the heartbreaking truth of a childhood everyone thought was filled with sunshine and songs. To understand why she said that, we have to rewind, all the way back to the beginning, when her natural gift turned into someone else's golden ticket. Shirley Jane Temple was born in April 1928 at Santa Monica Hospital. The nurse who delivered her even joked, "This baby's got unusually bright eyes," but no one could have guessed that same brightness would one day become the lifeline for both her struggling family and a collapsing movie studio. From the start, Shirley amazed everyone. At just 6 months old, she mimicked her father's whistle perfectly. At 2, she climbed onto a chair and recited the Pledge of Allegiance backward without missing a word. And by 2.5, she was tap dancing with such sharp precision that even adult dancers were stunned. Her talent was impossible to ignore, and her mother, Gertrude Temple, who was usually careful about everything, suddenly became daring when she realized what she was holding in her hands. One afternoon in 1931, right after Shirley's 3rd birthday, Gertrude looked at a neighbor and said, "This little one will buy us a house someday." She said it playfully, but fate seemed to take that promise very seriously. Just weeks later, Gertrude brought her daughter to Meglin's dance school in Los Angeles. For most kids, it was just a place to twirl and smile for their parents during school recitals, but not for Shirley. When they stepped into that dance hall filled with the smell of chalk and sweat and the buzz of nervous mothers, Gertrude didn't say, "Have fun." Instead, she leaned down and whispered, "Don't disappoint me." Those 3 words meant nothing to a 3-year-old, yet Shirley felt their weight instantly. From that moment, her tiny feet carried the pressure of an entire family's survival. Her natural charm turned into the Temple family's engine, and once it started running, it never stopped. When the offer for baby burlesques came, Gertrude didn't hesitate. She saw it as a miracle, a way out of the crushing grip of the Great Depression. She believed Hollywood was giving her daughter a golden opportunity. But she couldn't see, or maybe refused to see, that this opportunity was really a trap, one that would steal Shirley's early years before she even learned what freedom felt like. From sunrise to sunset, 3-year-old Shirley worked non-stop. She arrived at the studio before the sun was up and didn't leave until janitors were sweeping the floors and locking the doors. Every day was the same. Bright lights, loud laughter, and adults directing her into roles she couldn't possibly understand. She didn't remember the lines or the meaning behind the stories, only the sound of adults laughing while she performed. They laughed because her innocence entertained them, never realizing they were watching that innocence fade away, one dance number at a time. They laughed, loudly, endlessly, laughter that filled every studio room. But no one ever explained why. Years later, Shirley revealed the chilling truth. All I remember is that people laughed at my body. When her memoir came out, that single line sent shockwaves through Hollywood. And that was just the beginning of what she finally dared to uncover. Between 1934 and 1939, her so-called golden years, Shirley was only 6 to 11 years old, yet her schedule was brutal, something even full-grown adults would have broken under. She had to be on set by 7 a.m., and she wasn't allowed to leave until after 8 p.m. Her breaks lasted barely an hour, and in that time, she was expected to smile, sing, dance, and act like the happiest child in America. During those 5 years, she filmed 3 to 4 movies every single year, more than 40 productions before she even hit 12. No adult actor in Hollywood carried that kind of load, but Shirley didn't have a choice. Her smile was keeping Fox Studios alive during the Great Depression. That tiny grin was worth millions, and the studio made sure it never disappeared, even when it hurt to keep it there. In the famous tap dance scene from The Little Colonel, she had to repeat the staircase routine over and over again, faster each time, until her little feet were slamming against the cold wooden steps. Her toenails loosened, her toes bled, but the cameras kept rolling. When Gertrude saw the blood, she didn't gasp or demand they stop. She simply asked, "Can you still dance?" And Shirley, already trained to obey like a reflex, nodded and kept going. Then, in 1936, when she caught a severe ear infection that needed surgery, the studio gave her 1 day of rest, just one. The next morning, a car showed up at her home to drag her back to set. Nobody in the family protested, not because they didn't care, but because they were terrified. Losing that contract meant losing everything: the house, the comfort, the fragile hope they'd built through their daughter's suffering. But the exhaustion didn't stop at the studio. Even at home, Shirley couldn't escape the pain that came with her fame. The world adored her signature curls, 56 perfect ringlets, counted and celebrated in every magazine article. But behind those angel curls was a secret agony. Every night, her mother boiled water, mixed it with vinegar, and wrapped Shirley's hair tightly around metal rods. The smell burned her nose, the metal burned her scalp, and she often lay awake with tears stinging her eyes, unable to sleep because her head throbbed all night long. Years later, she spoke about it with calm sadness. "I was a puppet, and the strings were the ambitions of adults." And she wasn't exaggerating. Every smile, every step, every bit of laughter the world saw came from a script she didn't write, pulled by adults chasing money, fame, and security. The pressure came from all sides: the studio demanding profits, her parents terrified of poverty, and a nation desperate for distraction. And then, when I started getting taller, everything fell apart so fast. I didn't understand what was happening. Those words marked the beginning of the darkest chapter in Shirley Temple's story. The fall that everyone saw but no one truly understood. She once said something that left fans speechless. "They used to say I was the future of Hollywood until the day I grew a few centimeters, and that future disappeared." That single confession exposed one of Hollywood's cruelest truths. The moment a child star grows up, the magic dies in the eyes of the industry. The same people who once worshipped her charm turned their backs the instant her body began to change. as if growing up was some kind of sin. It all started around 1940, when Shirley turned 12. Her career didn't fade slowly, it crashed. The little girl who had once saved studios from bankruptcy, who made entire crowds line up just to see her smile, suddenly couldn't draw an audience anymore. Viewers didn't want to see her growing, maturing, or becoming a young woman. To them, Shirley Temple was supposed to stay frozen in time, forever 6 years old, with bouncing curls and that famous grin from On the Good Ship Lollipop. Any sign of change felt like betrayal to her fans, and Hollywood, always cold and calculating, knew it. The second she didn't fit the old image, the studios pushed her aside without hesitation. They tried to reinvent her, giving her teen roles in films like Since You Went Away and The Bachelor and The Bobby Soxer, but nothing worked. No one wanted a teenage Shirley. They only wanted the little girl who had once made the world forget its pain. But time doesn't stop for anyone, and Hollywood doesn't forgive growing up. Within just a few years, her scripts vanished. Her name started disappearing from studio call sheets, and the phone that once rang non-stop went silent. The girl who had once been the highest-paid child actor in history was labeled washed up before she even turned 15. Imagine that, the biggest star of the 1930s being told she was past her prime while still in high school. As her career crumbled, Shirley searched for something, anything, that could make her feel whole again. So, in 1945, at Hollywood Methodist Church, surrounded by flashing cameras and curious reporters, she married young actor John Agar. To the world, it looked like a fairy tale comeback, the beloved child star finding love and starting a new life. But behind the scenes, the reality was much darker. John was handsome, charming, and on the rise, but he carried heavy baggage, jealousy, wild parties, and a restless temper. Shirley, barely out of her teenage years, was thrown into a storm she wasn't emotionally ready for. She wanted peace. He wanted excitement. Nights turned into arguments, and arguments turned into silence that could last for days. What had begun as a romantic escape quickly became another trap, one built on insecurity, betrayal, and broken promises. 4 years later, in 1949, Shirley made a decision that shocked the nation. She filed for divorce. The press called it scandalous, but for her, it was survival. It wasn't about image anymore. It was about saving what was left of herself. After years of being controlled by studios, directors, and public opinion, Shirley finally took control, not as the Hollywood child star everyone thought they knew, but as a young woman who had finally said, "Enough." Just when Shirley was finally starting to heal emotionally, life hit her with the hardest blow yet, the total collapse of her career. In 1949, her film A Kiss for Corliss premiered, and it bombed. Theaters were nearly empty. Critics shredded it to pieces, and what little was left of her Hollywood reputation crumbled overnight. By 1950, at just 22 years old, Shirley Temple, once America's Golden Girl, announced her retirement from acting. Her decision wasn't a tantrum or rebellion. It was honesty, raw and heartbreaking. "I didn't want to be an adult forced to act like a child," she said. That one sentence summed up everything. Hollywood hadn't just abandoned her. It had left her hollow inside, drained of purpose, lost between who she was and who the world still expected her to be. And when she reached for the only sense of security she thought she still had, her hard-earned money, she discovered a betrayal even worse than the industry's rejection. In 1950, she went to check her trust account, expecting to find the fortune she'd earned since she was 3, enough to finally live peacefully, study, maybe start fresh. But when the banker slid over the statement, her heart dropped. Instead of the millions that were legally hers, around $3 million at the time, worth more than $50 million today, all she saw was a cold number, $44,000. That was it. Everything she'd worked for, every film, every hour on set, every sleepless night in pain, was gone. And the person responsible wasn't some shady agent or greedy executive. It was her own father, George Temple, the same man who once tied her ribbons before filming, who proudly watched her under the lights, who told her she was the family's miracle. He was the one who emptied her entire trust fund. He'd spent the money on expensive cars, house staff, flashy investments, and a lifestyle far beyond what they ever could have afforded without Shirley's success. He used the fortune his daughter earned through years of sacrifice as if it were his own personal bank account. When the truth finally came out, the world expected an explosion. lawsuits, anger, tears. But Shirley didn't scream, didn't break down, didn't demand revenge. She just sat quietly, holding the bank papers in her hands, the proof that her entire childhood had been turned into someone else's luxury. A lifetime of work reduced to a few empty numbers. People asked her later, "Why didn't you take your father to court? Why didn't you fight for justice?" And her answer stunned everyone. "Family is more important than money," she said softly, "and I was too tired to hold any resentment." Those words weren't gentle forgiveness. They were the voice of a woman who had already carried too much pain for too long. She had grown up far too early, and she knew that some wounds don't heal through anger. They only fade when you finally let go. So she chose peace, not because her father deserved it, but because she couldn't carry the bitterness anymore. And just when it seemed like her story had hit its lowest point, something unexpected happened. She met the man who would become her true peace, the one she later called the only calm part of my life. From that meeting, a new chapter began. A life away from the blinding studio lights, away from the fake smiles and empty promises. For the first time, Shirley was about to experience something real, something she had never truly known despite all the fame, money, and applause. She was finally about to find what she'd been searching for since she was 3 years old, a genuine sense of home. Because behind all the glamour, Shirley Temple had once confessed a haunting truth. Fame had given her everything except the one thing she always wanted most, to simply feel safe. "I only found peace when no one called me Shirley Temple anymore." Those words revealed everything, the truth that peace came only when the spotlight finally dimmed. Maybe that's why she always said her second life, the one after Hollywood, was her true rebirth. That rebirth began in 1950, far from the cameras, at a warm gathering in Hawaii. There, Shirley met the man who would change everything, Charles Alden Black. Charles wasn't like anyone she'd ever met before. He didn't ask for an autograph, didn't gush about her movies, and had no clue that the woman standing before him had once been the world's most famous child star. To him, she wasn't an icon. She was simply Shirley. He saw her for who she really was, a kind, intelligent woman with eyes that carried both wisdom and gentleness. That simple act of seeing her as a person, not a product, touched something deep inside her. After years of being treated like an image, a brand, a little angel, she finally felt what it was like to be seen, truly seen. Not long after, they married, quietly, without reporters, without flashes or studio deals. No circus, no spectacle, just love, sincerity, and the promise of peace. And that promise held strong for more than 55 years, until Charles passed away in 2005. Those who knew them said they were almost never apart for more than a few days. And Shirley herself once said, "Charles was the only peaceful part of my life." That one line said it all. After a childhood ruled by contracts and cameras, she had finally found stability, love, and the kind of calm that fame could never buy. But Shirley's story didn't end with love. Her second act turned out to be just as extraordinary, only this time, it was real. After stepping away from Hollywood, she walked straight into the world of politics and diplomacy, and she did it with grace, intelligence, and power. In 1969, during a small political meeting, President Richard Nixon heard Shirley speak passionately about the Namibia issue. He saw something that most people never looked for in her, a razor-sharp mind and an unshakable will. Within months, he appointed her as a U.S. representative to the United Nations. Hollywood had made her a global icon, but politics turned her into a voice. She didn't sit in those diplomatic rooms because of her fame. She earned her seat through hard work, focus, and deep knowledge. Colleagues described her presence as unyielding elegance, and analysts later called her determination unbreakable resolve. Then, in 1974, Shirley made history. She became the first woman in U.S. history to serve as ambassador to Ghana. With professionalism and quiet strength, she built strong ties, showing a side of America that many countries had never seen before, a side of compassion and sincerity. Her work helped reshape how several African nations viewed the United States, proving that she wasn't just a name, she was a force. But the pinnacle of her diplomatic career came in 1989 when she was appointed U.S. ambassador to Czechoslovakia, right in the middle of the Velvet Revolution. The country was erupting in change, a 41-year regime collapsing before her very eyes. Shirley was there, standing on the front lines of history, watching freedom being reborn in real time. She met with Václav Havel, who would soon become president, and supported him during those fragile early days of rebuilding diplomatic relations with the United States. European diplomats who worked beside her later said they didn't see Shirley Temple, the former child star. They saw Shirley Temple Black, a calm, fearless, and incredibly sharp woman who understood both the fragility and the strength of freedom. Even Henry Kissinger, known for being sparing with praise, once said, "She was smarter, more disciplined, and sharper than many career diplomats I've known." That statement didn't just honor her, it vindicated her entire life. The world once reduced her to a little girl who only danced and smiled, nothing more. But while Shirley Temple Black's political career soared to new heights, life threw her the hardest challenge yet, a fight for survival itself. In 1972, doctors diagnosed her with breast cancer. When they told her she'd need surgery, Shirley did something unheard of at the time. She refused to keep it secret. Most women back then were pressured to hide such news, but not Shirley. Just days after her operation, her arm still wrapped in bandages, she held a press conference right there in the hospital. She looked straight at the cameras and told women everywhere that they needed to speak openly about their health, to protect their own lives. That single act of bravery changed everything. It sparked a movement that encouraged millions of women to get screenings and to fight for their health without shame. Reporters called her a beacon of awareness, and she became a global symbol of strength, not just as an actress or diplomat, but as a survivor. In her later years, Shirley chose peace over fame. She settled in Woodside, California, a quiet, tree-shaded town where the air smelled of pine and calm. She spent her days gardening, cooking, and writing in her journals, often sharing stories about the world leaders she had met and the historic moments she had witnessed. Her friends didn't talk about the little girl from the movies. They spoke of Shirley Temple Black, the woman who had lived 3 unforgettable lives: a child exploited, a star adored, and a diplomat deeply respected. Then, on February 10, 2014, Shirley Temple passed away peacefully at 85 from chronic lung disease. Only after her death did a small secret come out. She had been a long-time smoker, a habit she kept hidden for decades. No one judged her for it. After all, after a lifetime of pain beneath the glitter, who could deny her a small private corner of peace? Shirley Temple's life stretched across worlds, from the dazzling film sets of old Hollywood to the tense meeting rooms of international diplomacy, from bright lights and roaring applause to the gentle quiet of her garden in Woodside. Her story wasn't one of luck or easy fame, it was one of endurance. The story of a little girl who lost her childhood, of a woman who rose from ruin, and of a diplomat who finally discovered her true worth. From the curls the world adored to the silent pain she carried behind the scenes. From the movies that gave hope to a struggling nation to the lonely nights no one ever saw. From Hollywood's blinding glow to the global stages where freedom was reborn, Shirley Temple never stopped moving forward. She became living proof of one powerful truth: glory may fade, but courage never disappears. Today, when we look back on her life, we don't just see the smiling child who saved a studio. We see the woman she became, strong, forgiving, and endlessly resilient. Shirley Temple wasn't just a star. She was a survivor, a heart that refused to break, and a spirit that kept shining long after the lights went out. If Shirley Temple's story touched your heart, don't forget to leave a like to show your support for our production team. And if you want to discover more untold stories, hidden truths, and forgotten legends from Hollywood's golden age, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a single episode. Every week, we uncover a new story, one you won't find anywhere else. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.